My love of the TV series Smallville is well documented, and there's one rewatch podcast that's always at the top of my queue. Zach Moore's Always Hold On to Smallville, which continues with more great Smallville and Superman talk now that their series rewatch has concluded. Listen wherever you get podcasts. If you have children and are looking for a family-friendly store, look no further than Aw Yeah Comics. Visit one of their 3 locations, Harrison, New York, Muncie, Indiana, or Skokie, Illinois, and check out awyeahcomics.com for more. Their name says exactly how they feel about it. Aw yeah. In the 1950s, George Reeves embodied the Man of Steel in Superman's first television adaptation, from its gritty black and white beginnings to the kid-friendly color years. To this day, an entire generation reveres George as their Superman, while for others, the show remains an overlooked, underrated chapter in the character's history. On this podcast, we bring everyone together as we break down each episode of Adventures of Superman, examining it within the context of the series itself, as well as the larger Superman mythology. Welcome to another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss Season 4, Episode 2, The Unlucky Number, is returning guest, Rich Roney. Welcome back.
I'm thrilled to be here. Hello, everyone. Once again, we're in George Reeves' environment.
We are. We kicked things off with Joey last time, and now we continue along here with The Unlucky Number, in which a rigged raffle involves a con man who is mistaken for Superman by his young neighbor. This aired on February 25th, 1956, written by David Chandler, directed by Harry Gerstad, and our guest cast includes Henry Blair as Bobby Exbrook, Elizabeth Pattersori as Mrs. Exbrook, she was the old lady in Olsen's Millions as well, a familiar face, and John Berardino as Dexter. I don't know what to say about this one. Better than Joey, at least?
Better than Joey. Now, very, very, very myopic and egocentric. I was born on the day this show was broadcast. So my birthday, literally, not my annual birthday, but I was literally born on the day this episode was broadcast. So I never knew that until we started preparing for these things. I thought, oh, what a coinky-dink.
That's a nice bit of trivia. Do you feel more of a connection to the episode now because of that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so I guess in terms of overall impressions, let me toss it to you first. How do you feel about this episode, big picture?
It was really middle of the road. I mean, there were 1 or 2 moments I really enjoyed, but it was kind of filler. And I think it was quite frankly characteristic of the majority of season 4.
Yeah, it just, to me, it had no teeth to it. And I know a lot of the color episodes don't, they were so kid friendly, but this one, it was kind of felt like aggressively toothless. And I don't mean to harp on this because I know it will come up as we continue along in our discussion here, but how dumb is this kid?
Well, I would also say, how accurate is that machine gun? Because the kid was like 2 feet away.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I blew it. I know you want to go through the...
No, that's fine, but no, that's a good point as well. But yeah, here's the thing. I don't know what the child labor laws were at that point in time, but I know just from modern television shows that there are a lot of restrictions when you're working with child actors, right? In terms of how many hours they can work and whatnot. And just that overall it's challenging to work with children and animals as a practical matter. So that might be why they cast someone a little bit older here. I didn't double check to see how old this actor was at the time of filming, but it's all to say that I think this episode would have been better served by an actual kid. I think you needed someone much younger to really sell this gullibility that he believes his neighbor is actually Superman, despite all of these things that he's seeing. I feel like he was too old. He was too old and played too old, and it just came off as dumb to me.
And almost too gullible, incredible, and naive.
I don't know. It doesn't sound like it bothered you as much as it bothered me, but I just, at a certain point, I'm like, well, come on, kid. I will say there's one moment, and I suspect perhaps this is a standout moment to you as well, but When we get to the point where the kid is making Superman prove that he's Superman for some reason, and he gets to the point where he asks Superman, can you teach me how to do those things? And we get the close-up on George's face, and he's like, no one can do the things Superman can do. And that goes double for flying. Great moment, and clearly something that they wanted to express to all the kids watching, yeah?
Absolutely. And quite frankly, that was one of my two favorite spots of this episode. And I likewise got that quote verbatim. That reminded me so much of Panic in the Sky.
Yes.
So I was really impressed. And I thought, on an altruistic level, I thought this is good because from some of the readings I've done, at that point in time, a lot of children would throw a towel on their back and they would be jumping off the top of their garage. So there was a lot of concern that kids would think they were Superman if they had a special S on their chest and a towel on their shoulders. So I saw this as the same as, Panic in the Sky when Jimmy goes, no, the costume doesn't have the powers, only Superman.
Only Superman can do super things, a.k.a. our sign-off for this podcast. It could have just as easily been no one can do the things Superman can do. But yeah, I thought of that as well. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and that seemed to be the public service message. That was one of my two favorite spots and moments.
I got to tell you, though, a couple of anecdotes on the note about only Superman can do super things. So when I was little, until I was 8, we moved to our house. But before then, we lived in an apartment and we had a balcony. And, huge Superman fan. I used to run around in my Superman pajamas, and my mother always made sure to hammer home, you can't fly. She was afraid I was going to jump off. And then flash forward to today, where now I'm a parent myself. Last summer, we took a Disney cruise with friends of ours who have a son about the same age as ours. And we watched one of the shows, and the gist of it was, if you believe you can fly, you can do it, or you can accomplish anything. It was something like that. And I remember after we were with the kids and we were talking about, we enjoyed the show and everything. And I was like, okay, but guys, we cannot fly under any circumstances except on a plane. And the other dad, to this day, he continues to thank me for that because he's like, I didn't even think about that. But thank you for saying that. But that's the words of my mom ringing in my ears and really wanting to hammer home the point of no, we can't actually do that.
I mean, kudos to your mom. I really commend her because she's balancing your passion and enthusiasm and love of Superman and the character and your appreciation of the character versus, hey, she didn't want you to get too enamored with, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, last big picture thing. We're going to start off here with this contest. Just guess the number of jelly beans and win a house. Have you ever done one of those sorts of contests where you have to guess the number of something?
Yeah, rare. I mean, I'd say 3 or 4 times in my life I've been in an office somewhere and there was some charity thing.
You never won a house, though.
Never won a house. Right. Now, to your point, and I'm gonna defer to you in a second, but we are now, and you've given me the honor of doing multiple episodes, but we're seeing recurring supporting characters. And my first impression for the boy's grandmother was either she's alienated from a very wealthy twin sister who's fond of cats and just blows millions of dollars, or she was the cat lady and got in trouble for giving all the millions away to guys like Jimmy, and now she had to run a boarding house. But in a short window of time, we've seen this woman twice.
It's so funny. I feel like there's a vastly more fascinating version of this series if you draw those points of connection. Yeah. And obviously there's nothing there in the show itself to support any of that. And they have different names and they're clearly meant to be different characters. But whether it's a supporting character like this lady or the bad guys who are played by the same actors, if you employ a little bit of headcanon and make it work, it becomes vastly more interesting, I think.
Yes. So my read on this was either she got conned or she just blew millions philanthropically protecting cats and then had to run a boarding house, or she's got a twin sister and there's great division between the two.
I like the twin sister angle. Because this lady here, she's running a boarding house. She's got the grandson. There's a lot at play here. So I sort of like the idea that, yeah, this is a member of the family who there's been some alienation there. I'll go with that. All right. That's our headcanon. Okay. Lois and Clark pass by a diner advertising a contest. Guess the number of jelly beans in a jar to win a house. And Clark gives the winning number to an elderly lady. She wins with the exact number, prevailing over another contestant who was only off by 3. Afterward, Clark sticks around and learns the contest was rigged. The contestant, a con man Clark had recognized immediately, was in on it with the official, who theorized that their other accomplice, Dexter, must have tipped off the old lady. Anything else about that opening scene that stuck out to you?
I guess once again, whether it's Clark or Superman, the compassion, right? And also kind of the savvy and the acumen, right? Hey, something's up, but I'll help out this woman who needs help. So he's kind of watching the bad guys, but he's really setting the stage to help this woman out. I was impressed by both kind of the savvy and the compassion.
Here's a question. If he hadn't clocked the con man he recognized, do you think he still would have given the old lady the winning number?
I don't think he would have.
I don't think so either. I
think seeing the con man kind of raised, just his antenna, and then he figured, you know what? These guys are up to no good. I'm going to throw a wrench in their plans, but fortuitously, I'll help this woman out. Because I think even when he spotted the con man, she came a minute or two later, I believe. I don't remember. Yeah. And it wasn't like that diner was chock full of people. Even they said a pretty small turnout.
Yeah. Later, Dexter arrives at his boarding house. And by coincidence, it turns out he rents a room from the old lady and finds the lady's grandson, Bobby, sleeping outside to beat the heat. Dexter is shot in a drive-by, but appears unharmed. I thought this was surprisingly violent for the color era. I mean, I know you don't see anything, but just to hear the gunshots and he doubles over for a second, I was like, oh.
And like I said a couple of minutes ago, how freaking precise was that machine gun, right?
I know.
Because the boy was like literally almost elbow to elbow with this guy. So talk about solid strength in shooting.
Yeah. Now, we see Dexter remove a bulletproof vest, but Bobby is convinced that Dexter is Superman. Dexter allows the boy to believe this and swears him to secrecy. When Henderson shows up later to investigate reports of a shooting, Bobby lies for Dexter to play it off. I'll say this in Bobby's defense. At this point in the story, and I have to factor in, and this has come up in other episodes as well, this was a totally different era, even though Superman in this show has appeared on television and has been photographed in the paper. It's not like today where you can pull up photos and videos of everybody all the time. So presumably people aren't seeing his face as much as they would in a modern context. So the idea that this kid might actually think that Dexter is Superman, and also might figure there's some element of disguise involved as well. At this point in the story, I'm sort of with Bobby, I guess. I could buy it.
I agree with you.
As we get deeper into it, it loses me. But at this point, as a setup, it's like, okay, right?
I totally agree. And I you're correct. I commend you for your, kind of like, hey, the media 60 years ago was radically different, radically less sophisticated. And also, I sat in this room with you when we were discussing No Holds Barred, and that wasn't that long ago in this story structure. But even then, Superman was such a new phenomenon. It was, that new Superman,
Yeah, absolutely. Single Bound is a new podcast hosted by married couple Amy and Logan as they review single issues of comics. And if the title makes you think of Superman, you're not alone, as the Man of Steel is a regular topic of discussion. Listen and subscribe to Single Bound on Spotify and YouTube. Ever wonder what would happen if a person who knew barely anything about comics decided to absorb hundreds of Superman stories? Robbo is that kind of person, and that's exactly what he's doing on a new show called This Podcast Will Never Die. Listen and subscribe today. Fat Moose Comics, established in 1982, is New Jersey's best and oldest comic book store. Moose has that rare old-school comic shop feel and camaraderie, yet also remains a welcoming space for new fans. Visit them in Whippany or reach out via the Fat Moose Comics Facebook page. Whether you're an independent filmmaker or you just love movies, don't miss these New Jersey film festivals. Brightside Tavern in Jersey City, Hang On to Your Shorts in Asbury Park, and Round Reel in Bloomfield. Submission information for filmmakers can be found at filmfreeway.com. The next day, Lois reads the news item to Clark about the incident at the boarding house, and Superman pays a visit. Bobby, convinced that Superman is really Dexter, has Superman perform a series of feats, including bending weights and melting a horseshoe with his X-ray vision, but ultimately gives Superman the runaround. And this is the sequence where we get that line we were referring to before. I mean, what do you make of this battery of tests that that Bobby put Superman through?
I'm starting to appreciate, and we'll get into this because we're going to discuss over the next couple of months, like 5 or 6 more episodes. But this seemed to be, hey, we've got to have Superman do super things, because this was really pointed towards 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw this as, okay, we've got to check the box. Let's have some super heroic activities.
Yeah, I agree. And Superman is certainly a good sport about it. Next, Perry tasks Lois with investigating this raffle racket. So she buys tickets from a newsstand. And of course, on the newsstand behind her, we see DC Comics.
That was my second favorite moment of this episode.
Did you recognize the specific issues?
I saw books of Superboy, Batman, and Superman.
Yeah.
And I even paused it a few times. And I thought, you and I have discussed this before. They really didn't do cross-marketing, right? What a lost opportunity. I mean, I think there's one frame at the end of many of these shows where they go, as seen in Superman periodicals. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was, I mean, I'm really overthinking it, but I like the notion that in the world of Adventures of Superman, there are Superboy comics. Right? Like we know in the continuity of the show, he goes from Smallville to Metropolis and becomes Superman. There's no Superboy. But in this world, I guess they've invented this notion that he was Superboy first. I like that.
Yeah. And listen, I'm going to go back to, I didn't see it. I've never seen it. But you watch some of the Republic B serials where Kirk Allen.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And didn't you tell me there was like one of the origins, this is not the George Reeves, but Kirk Allen, like... Jonathan and Martha aren't you going to kind of get going now? And the kid's just sitting there reading a book,
Yes.
Aren't you going to get going?
Yeah, that was amazing where the Kents give Clark a bit of a nudge. It's like, okay, because he's fully grown. He's in his suit. He's reading and they're like, you
going to do anything?
Amazing. So you've never watched them at all? The Kirk Allen serials?
Never.
Gotcha.
And in some ways you're,
I haven't really made you want to watch them. I get it.
Well, the top of mind, the memory is you told me like, hey, Rich, George Reeves, you can see him in the, even in the Mole Men thing. Like he's athletic, he's fit. Then you said, look, with Kirk Allen, it's really a guy running around in his pajamas.
That's the thing. The one thing though, I will always give Kirk Allen credit for is he really did differentiate his Clark and Superman. He really did. And I give him credit for that. And he was the first to do it in live action. So there's something to be said for that as well. The biggest struggle I had with those serials, though, we did a whole episode about them on Digging for Kryptonite years ago now. And this is my own fault. It's not their fault. These were not meant to be binged. But that's how I watch them. Because I sort of procrastinated my homework. And then I'm watching them all in a row. And they're so repetitive. But I recognize that's not the way they were originally shown or meant to be watched. But it definitely hindered my enjoyment as I was trying to barrel through them at the time.
That's fascinating.
So if you ever do watch them, watch one a week or one a night.
And if I can say this, Anthony, you're bringing back memories of when I was like 4 and 5 and 6. When I grew up in Chicago, they would every Saturday morning, maybe around 6:30 or 7 a.m., they would show some of the Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon serials, but they would do 1 or 2 episodes every week. They wouldn't do 3 hours. So I was watching it the same way they had it, as kind of like a tee up when you would go to the feature. We'll show one of these 15-minute things prior. So yeah, and they do cover it. They do. Let's bring you up to speed. We'll give you 7 minutes from the last episode.
Yes, very much so. All right, so we're at the newsstand here. After Lois leaves, Dexter arrives and collects early from the vendor. He later reveals to his accomplice that he is staging a coup to take over this operation and that Lois was inadvertently sold the winning raffle ticket. Bobby, who has followed Dexter, overhears all of this. He later confronts Dexter, who says he's got a right to a little something for himself. So he's still continuing this ruse that he's Superman, and Bobby continues to buy it. Dexter abducts Lois and brings her to the boarding house. Bobby confronts him again, but then the other con men arrive and Dexter hides in the closet. Bobby, still sure that Dexter is Superman, taunts them to fire at the closet door. After they do, Superman bursts out from inside. He had snuck in to protect Dexter, and Dexter has a change of heart. And that's our episode. What'd you think about the climax there? How was the payoff? Did it land for you?
Once he went into the closet, I figured either Superman's going to burst in from the window on the other side. It was inventive, right? I thought for a minute, boy, it really reinforced Bobby's thinking, right?
I know.
Dexter goes in, Superman comes out.
Yes, yeah.
It really... and apparently bullets can unlock a closet door.
That's right. No, because Bobby locks it. I know that's true.
I will say this one didn't even have a button at the end.
No.
You know?
This was pretty abrupt.
Yeah, it surprised me because you've educated me that, hey, you know what? Like when we saw No Holds Barred, there's always like a 30-second, 20-second button at the end,
The only real magic.
Yeah. Here, there was none of that. They were just done.
I know. Yeah, that was it. When we started the color episode, you talked about how you felt this era of the show actually did you a bit of a disservice as a kid because the villains were not shown to be as dangerous as they actually are in the real world. What we see here, especially the change of heart that Dexter has, is that kind of in line with what you were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the other thing, some of the episodes I'll debrief with you. The villains are so clean cut and well dressed, and they look sharp, or they're super silly. So it did me a disservice as a child because it kind of when this is what I saw when I was 8, it gives you this is your worldview, and it was kind of too benign and too safe, and good always comes out on top. So it. I don't want an 8-year-old to be subjected to, serious drama or adult themes. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, I guess I wouldn't have minded his change of heart if I felt like there was more that pointed towards it. It just sort of felt like, oh, okay.
Arbitrary.
Yeah.
And this is where more of the modern shows, and again, you and I are having the year 2025 sensibilities imposed on. Look, some of these shows were phenomenal for their time, like Panic in the Sky, right? Or The Face and the Voice. Others, I think they were just we got to fill 23 minutes,
Yeah. All right. The time has come. On a scale of 1 to 5 Great Caesar's ghosts, how many are we giving the unlucky number?
2.
2. Okay. I think I got to go 1 on this.
Really?
Yeah, I think this is a 1
That's
for
funny.
me.
I got to tell you that I'm going to revise. No. I was originally thinking 1.5. And now I'm going to revert to and that was my first gut. Yeah. No, definitely 1.5. And even that's generous. I mean, the 2 things I loved the most, again, were that educational admonishment for children. Like, look, and this goes especially for flying. No one can do the things Superman does. And that goes especially for flying. So that I thought was an important message, and they showcased it well. And then I did like the cross marketing with the comic books being displayed at the newsstand.
Yeah. No, I agree. Those things were cool. I mean, look, and it's the sort of thing, look, for anyone listening to this who's like, oh, only a 1 or only 1.5. Like, if you watch this as a kid in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you were just swept up, especially in that scene of Superman showing off all of his powers.
Or bursting out of the closet.
Yeah, sure. Like, I get that. But sort of divorced from that, I only got so much out of this episode. But anyway, that was the lucky number. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for inviting me.
So next week, Dan Greenfield is going to tag in, and he and I are going to discuss the big freeze. And then you'll be back in 2 weeks for Peril by Sea, Big Perry White episode. We're going to have fun with that one.
I'm looking forward to that. You just reminded me, I do remember some of the prod elements. I got to watch that, and that's one of my more favorite episodes.
All right. Well, thank you, Rich. Thank you, audience. Make sure you come back next week. And until then, as always, remember, only Superman can do super things. This podcast is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. That's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions. It helps support the show too. Thank you. Another way to support the show and receive exclusive content, including the spin-off podcast Beyond Metropolis, is by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please subscribe, rate, and review today via your podcast platform of choice, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Flat Squirrel Podcasts is also home to Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey, a long-running weekly series mining Superman's vast mythology across time and media. Subscribe today. Another exciting episode is a Flat Squirrel production. Key art by Greg Schiegel and theme music by Dan Pritchard.